You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's American Horror Story After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's American Horror Story After Show.
Good evening, AfterBuzzers. We are here at the AfterBuzz TV studios doing everything American Horror Story. I am your host for the evening, David Schifilliti, joined by these three gorgeous ladies from week to week. Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Sarah Huggins. Hello, hello.
Hi, guys. I'm Jillian Leff.
Hello, I'm Oriana Leo.
And we are discussing Season 3, Episode 7, titled The Dead.
How appropriate.
I forgot to apologize that I kind of sound like a man. That was Jillian last week. We're going to all take turns sounding like men.
No, we're not. I'm going to skip the turn.
You did not get sick, but Jillian got
everybody else sick,
which is just everyone on this side of the table.
My sick powers happen to take over the table. I am the supreme sickness.
That's amazing.
Oh, I must have some kind of special power because I sit next to you and I haven't gotten it.
You're immune.
I think I'm immune, but I still have a defect of migraines, which I get instead. So that's something else.
Anyway,
I couldn't be the supreme.
We should preface with that just in case Sarah or I start hacking like the dead over here.
I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Should we do our fan shout out?
We should. Please start out with them.
I really want to start out with the YouTubers this week.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely have some international fans. I want to do shout out to David Perez Garo in Costa Rica. Sorry, I can't marry you. Just follow us.
I know. Oriana got so many marriage proposals last week.
I know. Did you say something in particular that
I did not
got them going?
No, but thank you so much. We've got Henry in Denmark, Chris K in the UK. We've got another UK. This guy doesn't even watch American Horror Story, but he's watching us.
What?
How amazing is that?
That's kind of awesome.
Well, you should start watching, Chris.
So somebody actually on YouTube gave him the link of where he can watch it.
Perfect.
So now he can watch it. And then Rob from Slovakia. Amazing to have these fans from all over the world.
Yeah, love it.
We love you guys.
We do love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for commenting.
Yes, we read all your comments.
It makes us very happy.
It does.
It does. It makes me think of things like that I would never think of. Like my mind goes to crazy places because of all the comments.
Our fans, you guys out there, definitely have some awesome predictions, awesome ways of putting things together for us that we don't notice.
And some of them actually came true this week.
Some of them actually did come true.
But we'll get into that.
We will get into that. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. Which really isn't anything because we just started. So we started out this episode tonight, and we're getting a flashback of Kyle in a tattoo parlor with his frat buddies.
Frank and Kyle.
That's prefaced with flashback. Yeah.
I decided. I
Reminding
thought it was very
us.
sweet.
It was very sweet.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Carry on.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
In the tattoo parlor with his frat buddies, and his frat buddies are getting tattoos. One of them's getting like an Asian symbol on his ankle. The other one's getting like a four-leaf clover on the inside of his arm. And they're talking about how Kyle, they're mocking him because he doesn't want to get one.
Right. They're giving him a hard time.
They are giving him a hard time.
Come on, Kyle.
I mean, everyone gets a tattoo in college.
But
Not me.
I don't have one.
I mean, neither.
Oh.
You
I
just
guess it's just me.
You do?
What is it and where?
Surprise, surprise.
You are wearing a leather jacket.
I feel like it's on your ankle or
guy.
something.
No, I mean, I have one on my ankle, that I got in college, but I have other ones that I got in college as well.
Oh, my.
Rawr. If you look on the YouTube
Yeah.
channel, Kyle I mean, not Kyle. David will post where he got the tattoos and what they are.
No, I will not.
Where?
If you're lucky, follow him on Instagram. You can get a picture.
Yeah.
You probably could on Instagram, yeah.
No, but we do see a sweet moment from Kyle this episode, we find out that he wants to be an engineer, and that's why he doesn't want to get a tattoo, because he wants to be taken seriously.
He wants to be able to, like, roll up his sleeves and be like...
He wants to be the hero for New Orleans, because he wants to be in the Army Corps of Engineers, and he wants to be able to get up there and roll up his sleeves with the mayor or the governor and help and be seen as a hero. And I wrote on the side here on my notes about man voice, because we haven't heard from men lately. At all. And so I was kind of going, oh my God, he has a speech. He has something to say.
Yeah.
And we all...
the men talked a lot
of this episode.
They did. So I didn't even, like, register.
I made little notes of it because we heard from Spalding later, but we heard from Kyle, and we got to kind of understand him better and have this moment of, like, wow, what are his dreams? What are his motivations? What was he like pre-bus accident and party that we saw?
But it made me sad, though, because, like, he's so not that now. And I was like, oh, he had all these, like, hopes and dreams and things he wanted to do, and, like, now he has...
Everything he hated about his frat bros are on him now.
Are on him now, because he ends up with his frat brother's arm and the leg.
Right.
And it's like... He's sobbing because he has all of these stupid tattoos that he's saying, I would never get that. That would just, like, pretty much destroy my dream.
Right.
And then he looks at, and he has that on his body.
Yeah.
He was devastated.
Well, not to mention the moment that he sort of, expressed his feelings towards Katrina, because that was a huge deal.
Right.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And not only is he molested,
right,
but he's had to deal with his house being destroyed in Katrina, and sort of, it's amazing that he wants to be this man.
Yeah.
And the flashback was needed. I think it was needed because I think we sort of lost touch about who Kyle was, because really the only sort of window into who he was we got originally was when he was picking up Zoe at the party.
Right.
I mean, we knew that he was a good guy because he obviously was trying to, I don't know, he wasn't stopping the rape, but
he sort of did.
He tried.
Yeah, he tried to stop the rape, so we know that he's a good guy, but I think we needed more of a background, and we finally got it this episode.
Yeah.
It was nice to see a different side of him.
Mm-hmm. Except for then enter Zoe.
When we flash forward.
Right.
And she's got the gun behind the teeny tiny Madison gun behind her back. And she's...
Slim pistol.
Like, what is
the
that?
lady pistol. Yeah. You know what? That's the kind that fits in your purse and that you can shoot through your coat.
It's Madison's Montgomery.
I like that.
Hello.
That's hilarious.
Good pun.
Guys.
You're so funny.
Yeah.
Write that one down. But she's looking to kill him, and then he sort of, like, wrestles the gun away from her and then goes to kill himself, and she's like, I don't want you dead.
And I think that's probably a natural reaction, like a human reaction.
Right.
But watching it play out was annoying. I think it probably is, because in your mind you're like, this is a mercy kill, but at the same time you
don't want to watch him do it.
I don't want you to die. Like, she doesn't want him to die. She just wants to put him out of his misery. She feels like it's wrong. But watching him, I think having the power of feeling like you're going to do it and then being powerless and watching someone do it to themselves is two different things.
Right.
And she wasn't expecting that. And we see in this episode, she likes power.
She does like power.
She likes being in charge.
She's getting a little drunk with power.
She sure is. And so that was the first sign we saw of, like, she was sure of herself when she had the power and then completely unsure of herself when she didn't.
And I think it's also very telling from the flashback to the flash forward of seeing him struggle and everything like that, of everything that could be going on in his brain and his frustration coming through as to why he can't communicate and why he's acting the way that he's acting because of everything that happened to him in the past.
Yeah.
He's getting more and more expressive, though. Like, they're starting to give him,
but
little words here and there.
Did you guys pick up when they go to the next scene and they're in the bedroom and the soup, whatever food is on the floor, I immediately thought of a dog. Like, it was on a tray, in a bowl on a tray on the ground.
I couldn't even tell what it was.
I immediately
think it was
just...
oatmeal, maybe.
It was something... I don't know. I immediately thought, like, ice cream. He was like a dog, because he's sitting on the ground, and she's doing flashcards with him. And I don't know if you noticed, but the bed... When she said bed, if you're tired, he immediately loses it and has, like, the PTSD.
Right.
I'm thinking... Did you guys put that together?
Yeah.
Mom and abuse and bed. And
I didn't see it. I was
right away.
I did. I mean, he already didn't seem wild with the flashcards as is, but...
He seemed like food. He was like...
He was receptive.
Receptive to food. Bed, no.
Bed was
We'll get
not
to
a
that
good one.
in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We then moved on from that small little storyline. We moved on with Madison, and we saw a very
amazing monologue.
Amazing monologue.
Madison the Millennial.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Because she's Gen Y, and she talks about how this is the generation of the haves and not the have-nots, and the we deserve.
We get a trophy for showing up. The
Right.
first generation that gets a trophy just for showing up, posts whatever we do to Facebook. And another thing she said too was the apathy, like the numbness.
Right.
Yeah.
Like really being able to not feel anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to think about it like the younger generation of today, the things that they're growing up being exposed to at such an early age is a lot different than maybe, let's say, what we were exposed to as young children or what our parents were exposed to as young children. So it's sort of, it is very appropriate for her to be talking about that and then correlating it to the fact that she can't feel.
Right.
Yeah, not to mention she's famous. It's a completely different story for her. She's speaking as someone who is emotionally damaged in the public eye. So what she did when she was living is she would cover it up with anything she could, whether it be drugs, sex, booze, anything. And now that she was dead and brought back to life, she is craving feeling. And as we see when she sort of holds a lighter under her hand.
And it's burning.
And it's burning her flesh.
Gross.
She has no feeling. So I guess we sort of uncover something about people that are brought back. It's that they cannot feel.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So that was a new revelation.
I like how she said, I think I'm going batshit. That was my favorite.
This may be inappropriate, but I'm kind of like, grass is always greener, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to feel nothing, and then you die and you come back, and now you want to feel everything.
Right,
We'll
right.
pick one.
Right. And I like
So
that
callous.
she called Misty a minor league Fiona. I thought that was cute.
I did not
I
catch
didn't
that.
Not catch
you
that.
didn't? Yeah,
Good
she was
catch.
talking about how they put her back together, and she was like, Misty, the minor league Fiona.
Interesting.
I
So
didn't
that
catch
could be like a little foreshadowing. Who knows?
I'm sure it is.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, we do know. We'll get to it in news and gossip,
Yeah.
but that is definite foreshadowing for what's to come in episode 10 after the Christmas break.
right.
Oh, after the Christmas break.
Rawr, he's
Well,
ready for
excellent.
us, Ryan Murphy.
Interesting. So then after that whole storyline, we sort of jumped to Queenie and Kathy Bates.
Madame Lalaurie.
I do that on purpose.
I think we need
Now
to
I
make
do it on
David,
purpose.
I think we need to make David flashcards.
I
Yes.
need that.
Like
You need
Zoe.
He needs he doesn't remember any of our characters.
I said Queenie
Yeah, he did.
Okay, there's one.
Yeah.
1 point.
one person.
and Zoe.
Okay, 2, 3.
So they're in the kitchen and they're both hungry, and our
Madison
has been binging and of course can't satiate her gnawing emptiness inside, no matter what she eats, where she says that she used to just starve herself all the time, binge, puke, no big deal.
Right.
And now all she's doing is eating, and it doesn't
She can't
help.
fill the hole.
She can't fill the hole.
We find out some background about Queenie, which we've also been craving. She is from Detroit.
Yes.
Right.
So she's a tough one. And really has no idea how she sort of ended up in this house full of white witches.
Right.
I mean, we know.
Well, she says that she
But-
came from Detroit to New Orleans to be with her sister witches.
Yes. But what Lalaurie is trying to communicate to her
Yeah.
is
They are not
how
sisters.
the hell did you end up here?
Right.
Right.
Because she knows the flip side of things, obviously. Marie
Right.
Laveau, who is her foe.
Right.
Saying. Sorry. I'm done with puns today. I should just.
That's hilarious.
But we do find out where she's from at least, and
Yeah.
and that was a little bit nice.
Well, and we know that she's been feeling isolated. She doesn't, obviously Zoe and have this connection. that
get
But
we
they're
see
both
that
like
later.
skinny white blondes.
Well,
yeah.
you know,
get into it later.
we see that
Yeah.
they have this connection later.
yes.
But other than, they're skinny witches.
Yeah.
And, what is she left with? I mean, there's Nan. We didn't even see Nan this
I
episode.
literally
Where
just
is
wrote that
she?
down. Where was
Right.
Nan
She's
this
glued
week?
to the window, like listening to her boyfriend
Yeah, Luke.
next door.
Nan
Maybe
and
she's
Luke.
with Luke. Let's
Who
hope
knows?
She's with Luke.
But yeah, she's by herself. And so
thing.
to see the two of them connect, it was like, I kind of was hoping for a budding friendship.
I was as well, and it sort of seemed
I was
like
believing it.
Yeah,
I
like,
liked it.
They got fast food together.
I mean, I thought this whole week's theme, I wrote it down, it was like kindred spirits. Like we had like and Kyle, which we'll get into, and then Queenie and Lalaurie, and then the Axeman and Fiona, which we'll talk about. But I thought, like, I don't know, I got like there was connections between all of these like new connections, I guess you would say.
Sure. And it really did seem like
they were besties.
They were definitely connecting, but at the burger joint, getting this food, you know, Delphine Lalaurie doesn't really make any bones about it when she's just like, no, you're never going to fit in. They're never going to accept you. You're black. You know, Queenie should really judge the source. Because she says right there, I'm in a truck with a, like, 200-year-old racist.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
But Lalaurie says it's not only was it a different time, but it was a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says that later on in the episode when she's talking to her about things, but she does say that to her.
And so part of me wished that Queenie would take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
Right.
But at the same time, like,
you would
she's
think
suffering. She's suffering and no one's reaching out to her.
Yeah.
And so what do you expect?
Yeah, she's not really made a connection with anybody except for Lalaurie, and as we find out, the connection wasn't that deep.
Right.
Apparently not.
It was a little love-hate situation.
About as deep as a paper cut, ladies and gents.
That could be pretty deep.
True.
But after this interaction that we have between Madame Lalaurie and Queenie, we hear Hank the skank.
This was the most random part of the episode to me.
I mean, listen.
Well, I think they're gearing up for what's to come.
A war.
Okay.
A war.
Yeah, because I mean, he calls Foxy and Foxy hangs up on him, whatever, and he's wasted clearly, but he has so many weapons.
Right.
He's ready to witch hunt.
He's ready to witch hunt.
And he's like, baby, I miss you. Baby, I'm going to come for
And
you.
he looked like he was crying.
He was crying because
Yeah.
he misses her and he realizes that if he wants to live, he's going to have to, like, bring her head.
Or maybe he's going to go the other way.
Right. I feel like he's going to go the other way.
Okay.
We can do that.
That's a prediction.
It is a prediction.
Sorry.
I'll
It just
forgive
kinda,
you.
it kind of got thrown in there because it was on top of my head.
All is forgiven.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But I mean, that was just that was a very tiny interaction that sort of was just thrown in there and then not mentioned again.
It'll be in,
It
in
will
2
be.
weeks. I feel like he's going to come back up.
And who was it that said that Hank was
me.
not going to be seen? Boom.
Who was it that said that Madison wasn't going to be able to feel?
Okay, all right.
I think that was me.
Okay,
also.
you guys are equal.
You jerk.
Moving forward.
Let's not catfight.
She shouldn't have started.
It's okay.
But I was going to say, yeah, Foxy runs into Madison.
And gets the clearest vision that she's had so far.
Right.
Absolutely.
Do you think it was because
Of who
had
it
to do with
was?
Fiona? Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think
she
it
also
might...
got a good touch on her because
Or
she actually
because
like
Madison's
fell on
not
her.
totally alive, so that might have something to do with it. I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we know enough.
It
but
was like
she
the
literally
clearest thing
ran
ever.
into her.
Yeah.
And when she was like trying to figure out who it was by touching her face and stuff, she got a lot of contact as well.
Right.
It
that's
might
true.
be that.
It wasn't just like someone touched her shoulder. It was like she had her hands all over her.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then she grabbed her as she kept seeing the vision.
Yeah.
Right.
And MM is just kind of standing there like, what's going on? But she's like really holding on tight.
It might be that the whole she actually got a firm grip on someone, and it might also be her finally just accepting these visions,
Right.
as opposed to rejecting them.
Because we've seen how much her attitude has shifted when she ends up calling Zoe in.
Right.
Right.
I don't know where that is along our timeline, though.
Yeah.
It's coming up.
We'll see it. Yeah.
We will see it. So she sees Fiona
Slitting her throat.
slit MM's throat, and then it just cuts to her, and she's like, Fiona.
Yeah. She like hates her mom.
And we just know.
We
know
just
what's
know.
coming.
Well, I mean, it was pretty clear. She was pretty pissed about it.
Yeah.
Next week,
Pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
we see
Like it.
Fiona.
Speaking of Fiona,
Fiona finally
Fiona
getting
and the
with her great
Axeman.
love.
Oh my gosh, so weird.
First of all, I loved how confused we were. We were like, wait, does the Axeman have an apartment?
Yeah,
We're like,
where
what's
is
going
this?
on?
What-
Whose house?
I feel like I wasn't questioning it
You weren't?
At all. No, the three of you were like, whose house is this? And I was like, just go with it.
Yeah. He's just like, hey, let's go back to my place, like a random.
Well, because I figured, they're
going to tell us.
It's going to be explained some way or another, so why question it?
Right.
But it just got weirder and weirder.
It did get very weird.
The whole scene was weird, but I mean, obviously, we should start out with, their flirtation and everything, and then Fiona's hair is falling out, and I can't imagine anything less sexy.
Right. It completely grosses me out.
I can't imagine going through that and having your hair come out and, like, trying to be romantic at all with anybody ever.
No, and it's big chunks.
That aside, I'm surprised that she's even able to, like, walk around and be drinking alcohol, and she's not just, like, throwing up all the time.
Right, that's true.
No, I was going to say the cockroaches, but yeah, you're right, on the medicine.
All the medicine. I mean, why isn't she, like, nauseous? How is she drinking liquor at all?
Well, if we have a fan that's had chemo and is doing okay now, please let us know.
Yes, please let us know. I mean,
or if you have a family member
with my mother who went through chemo and radiation twice, and so
So you're familiar with that?
Yeah, I am. And so
you don't think
it just doesn't make
any sense.
Any sense.
Right. She would be exhausted, and she would be in bed.
She would be exhausted.
Yeah.
So they kiss, but then we see sort of a resistance because she's really not sure if she wants to do this. She's hesitant, like she wants it, but she doesn't. Right?
Yes, and she says that she wants to leave and that it was a mistake, and she forgot her sleeping pills.
And she says, we find out she's had 3 husbands. She says she's a relationship destroyer.
She's a wretched human being.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, but
she, can't accept
I'm
being
full
loved.
of surprises. And she's like, I've got enough surprises, like enough for 2 lifetimes.
And then he sort of sweet talks her about
in a really
sexy talking.
His saxophone.
About his saxophone with his fingers and his mouth.
Talk.
I didn't think it was that creepy.
I thought it was
creepy,
sexy
Sarah.
talk.
No, I thought you were going to talk about where he goes later.
No.
I didn't think the saxophone thing was creepy. I thought that was pretty clever.
It was clever, but I was like, the words he was using, I was like,
I thought what was interesting, and this is like a weird
Yeah.
observation, but like they never kissed. They only
kissed at one time.
After. That was after their sex scene. Like they didn't show them kissing.
They kissed before. Once before. By the door before she was going to leave.
I mean, that was barely a kiss.
it was a body touching.
Right.
But yeah, there wasn't like a passionate kiss.
Passionate kisses, which I thought was kind of an interesting way
She was
to
holding
show that.
back.
Well, this is the thing. He sort of persuades her into having sex by saying, like, let's give it the old college try.
Yeah,
like,
old-fashioned.
Let's
Like this-
do the sex.
The old-fashioned
and that's
sex.
it.
That's what I
Let's not call it love, it's just sex.
Let's
Right.
Julia Roberts this-ish, okay?
Yeah.
I don't even know
No
what that
kissing on the
means.
mouth.
Right,
Pretty woman?
right.
Oh.
Yeah.
No kissing on the mouth.
So
Yeah.
let's prostitute this thing.
Yeah.
Let's do
Kind
it.
of, I guess. But I wrote another thing that was man voice again. He gets a chance to talk.
He talked a lot.
He talked a lot, and he got to express himself.
Right.
He gives this sort of poetic, line about his saxophone and how good he is at playing his instrument
The
or whatever
extension of his instrument. I like that
And
one.
then even later on, when he's telling his story, I was just like, wow, we had 2 men speak.
Yeah.
And the tally goes up. So I feel like there's a real transition in this episode of men having voices. I don't think it's going to last, but I think
No.
it's been very pivotal to give us the information that we need.
It's also a good break.
It is a good break.
Good timing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's relevant to talk about his story now because
Yeah.
really they haven't. I mean,
He
it
was
was
just introduced.
Yeah, he was just introduced, and we sort of find out that he has been watching Fiona since she was a child, sort
That's
of like
the part I think is creepy.
looking over her, and like it freaked me out a bit. I mean, he's been a looming figure in her life for all of these years. Like, how would you feel if somebody was just like,
I've been watching you.
Okay, let's just talk about her and finish her storyline because it's the shortest
Yeah.
and like the least relevant.
Sure.
So we do find out later on that he's been watching her entire life because he was a ghost. He was in that house, and she's lived in that house for her entire life, clearly. And he's sort of protected her and watched her grow, and he's fallen in love with her. He thought of her as a daughter first and had a daughter love for her, and then sort of fell in love with her as a woman.
I don't know how that happens, but
She developed.
She
Right.
became a
That's
woman
how it
and came
happens.
into her
Okay.
own. I personally don't find it that creepy.
Okay.
I don't find that in itself that creepy, but the
Personally.
telling of it,
Yeah,
in
it
the
was-
moment,
he was, like, watching her
where,
change
where
and,
she's
like-
like, she's in the room and he's telling her, I've been watching you your entire life, and I've been there, and now I want to have sex with you. That's weird. But the whole process of his story, I didn't find disturbing. It was just that, like, and like she says, so now I'm sick and dying, and now, like, this is so weird. Mercy, what are you?
A mercy bone?
Yeah.
Well, he did just, I mean, Zoe, like, resurrected him, basically.
But she doesn't know that.
Right.
Yeah, she has no idea.
She has no idea. All she knows is that this man is, like, trying to seduce her.
That's
that
true.
has been watching her
that.
since she's 8. It's just so, it's creepy from her perspective.
Yes.
Right.
But from a man ghost perspective, I don't think it's creepy.
Right. Because he was, like,
he's just a man trapped in a house.
Yeah.
And he really cared about her. And he's like, he even says, when everyone else saw you as a ruthless manipulator. And I was like, oh, is that... So nobody was fooled by her then.
Right, right.
Like, when he's
Even
like,
as a
everyone else
child.
saw you as a ruthless manipulator. I saw you for the woman that you really were. And I was like, oh, so she had a fan.
Yeah. That's nice.
She has more than one fan.
Does she?
Small thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's 2.
2. 2 for Fiona.
But you know, I thought it was kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But she says she doesn't believe in ghosts.
Right.
And
Well, he's not a ghost anymore, so.
but what is he? Is he?
Who the hell knows?
Right?
Right.
I don't know, but did you see the previews? They're still boning people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
I'm still
definitely,
learning.
as much as she wants to like keep him away.
I think they're drawn to each other. They do have a lot in common.
kindred
I mean, they're
spirits.
both
Well,
ruthless.
he said something. He said, when was the last time you had fire, or when was the last time you gave
your
off
body
fireworks?
put on a light show.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
body put on a light show, and you're scared of this, or it makes you weak,
Yeah.
and that's why you don't
Yes.
want to do it because it makes you weak. Which
Right.
Does that mean that she had such a good time that she put on a light show? Like, I was trying to think about how good that must have been.
I mean, it must have been pretty awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what is a light show? Is it like
The lights
Is
went
it
out.
like lasers?
Right.
Do like lasers come
When
out?
they started boning, the lights started
stick.
flickering.
Does a disco ball go off? Because I want that
Interesting.
power.
maybe when she has sex, her powers just go crazy.
And right now, her powers are on the fritz anyways. She's getting new ones.
Yeah,
and
that's
things
true.
are because she's sort of
Yeah.
collapsing. I wrote a note here that I said Axeman equals Lalaurie, in the sense that they have these parallel storylines of being trapped, sort of having been trapped and have now been released, and they now, well, Madame Lallaurie's storyline's a little bit farther progressed, but
Right.
having a new lease on life, if you will,
Right.
and wanting to fulfill maybe new needs or wishes, and maybe I don't know. I'm not sure if Axeman wants to be forgiven for anything he's done.
Right.
But
I mean, he killed somebody in the beginning of his storyline
yeah.
in this episode. So,
Right. So, but at the same
think he
time,
cares.
he's longing for something, and I
Yeah.
think Lalaurie is longing for something as well. I think we're pretty clear she's not going to get it right now.
No.
But I'm kind of wondering, like, what's his story? Like, you know, they're just they just seem like kind of parallel, but I don't know that
They
anyone's
do.
going to get what they want.
I mean, I think that the main difference between Lalaurie and the Axeman is that the Axeman, being a ghost in the house, got to experience the changes in the world and see things change and become different, and then when he comes back, he can sort of assimilate better. And she's sort of still learning.
Right.
And Madame Lalaurie doesn't seem to have. She really experienced genuine remorse quite instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really fast. And this guy doesn't seem to feel anything.
No,
No,
he's
not
just
at all.
sociopath. No, yeah.
I do want to jump back and start talking about Lalaurie again, and then we'll finish out with Zoe and them. But Lalaurie and Queenie sort of, we see them later on in the episode, and they are talking about a friendship, and Lalaurie's sort of saying, you know, I want to experience things and learn things, and it's good to have a true friend.
But this is after Queenie's already.
I was just about to say
After
that.
Queenie has gone to Angela Bassett,
Marie Laveau.
Marie
you.
Laveau.
Yes.
who's really pushing.
says, she walks in and she says, Queenie, come in if you're going to come in, and says that if there's a black witch in town, I'm going to make it my business to know her name. Which is pretty badass.
Well, and I don't know about you guys, but I was like, okay, like Queenie, like they have similar powers and things like that. Like I could totally see her fitting in better there. Like liking it better there.
Well, just having someone care about her.
Right.
And also a big reason why she went there was because of the conversation she had in the car with Madame Lalaurie.
Right.
She was talking about identity, and Queenie is curiously trying to find her identity. And, you know, there's this sort of entity, this Marie Laveau, that has been there this entire time, and I think that it really took the conversation with her new bestie to get her to go over there, to come from Wonder Bread Land, as Marie Laveau affectionately called Miss Robichuk's Academy for Exceptional Girls, to the hair salon.
Yeah.
Well, she says the voodoo doll belongs in the house of voodoo.
Yeah, I thought that was very good.
It was a very good.
And but the price of admission is Madame Lalaurie.
Right.
And she says, you go to her and ask her what's the worst thing she's ever done. And so she does. And she tells her that basically her husband had an affair with one of her slaves.
It was terrible.
The worst thing ever.
And he got her pregnant, which isn't unheard of.
Right.
And she had a baby, and she killed the baby.
Not only did she kill the baby, she pulverized the baby enough to make baby blood face
mask thingy.
Disgusting.
And then told the girl.
And then told her.
And
so
then
that
she
she
killed
killed
herself.
Which, by the way, is historically accurate. Not that whole lead-up scene, but when I was doing my research, there was a young girl. She may have been more like 12, 13.
Which is also very possible for that time.
Who jumped from the roof. That was one of the unintentional slave killings. One of the handmaidens, if you will, jumped to her death. And the law enforcement knew about it, and that was far before the House of Horrors attic was ever discovered.
Wow.
But after telling Queenie the story, I feel like she does feel sad about it, because she does preface by telling her the worst thing I ever did and the one thing that I most regret doing.
And she said, she's like, I am just learning what the right thing is to do. And I made a side note of just said revenge versus forgiveness. Like, you know, she seems like she's, you know, can you forgive what she's done? I don't know if anyone could forgive what she's done, but here we are 200 years later. This woman's trying, in juxtaposition to the Axeman who just murdered someone that day.
Right.
You know, it's like she's really trying. She's reaching out to Queenie. She's trying to build bridges. She's trying to change who she is and do the right thing. And how does more pain, more suffering, revenge change anything?
Right.
It's just... You know, I was just sad with Queenie's decision.
I was. I mean, because she sort of turns around and turns her over to Laveau.
Did you guys expect that? I didn't expect that. You did?
I did from a story writing perspective, but I was disappointed because I thought Queenie was teaching her so much as a person.
And it didn't seem like it was that hard of a decision for Queenie. It was just like, oh, you want her? All right. Well.
No, because she sort of, when she brings her there, Laveau, what the hell's her name? Kathy Bates is saying, you don't know what this woman is going to do to me. And she's like, yes, I do. That's why I brought you here, you stupid bitch.
Right.
But also, I
mean, that was a hard decision. I know.
No.
But I mean, I'm kind of on Queenie's side right now. Like, she's tough talking from Detroit. She's alone. She doesn't have anybody.
She wants to
belong and feel like she knows who she is. And I think... if you were to see the beautiful, commanding, you know, Marie Laveau that would offer you a place, you might believe her. Like, if you were really easily swayed. Plus, she did, you know, Madame Lalaurie a favor and got all minotaur'd. And
yeah, that's true.
You know, I don't know where that lies with her. I feel like we see in the next preview that she might be regretful.
Right.
I mean, we will get to that when we get to predictions, but it's just... at this point where we are now, it's sad to see her.
Yeah.
Jillian, what do you think?
That.
I will fill you guys in a little bit on. I read an article.
We have to save it.
Well, no, it's relevant now, so it's not news and gossip. It's just Gabrielle Sidibe was in an interview and she talked about the Minotaur sex scene and how sort of that whole thing was supposed to transpire. And she, like we said, you know, she was identifying with the beast. And she touched herself to sort of comfort the beast.
Oh, interesting.
And she really had no idea what was going to happen as a result of doing that. So she was doing it out of comfort. But that's sort of a side note. But back to this episode. So Queenie takes the first stab at Madame Lalaurie.
And the war it's like the war has begun. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like as much as Madame Laveau has been working on this war for a long time, there's supposed to be a truce, and it's clearly been violated by having a witch hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the very first step into an all-out like witch war.
Well, in that scene where Madame Laveau was putting the blood on her face, doing the beauty regimen, was pretty great.
Yeah,
great. I think it's pretty awesome that she's doing the same beauty regimen that Kathy Bates had been doing.
Maybe we should try it.
This like blood mask.
Yeah. Blood mask, anyone? I'm just saying.
I mean, not human blood.
If you guys have a recipe for a blood mask.
I mean, I'm sure there's other things in there besides blood. But either way, jumping back to the meat of the story, which is Zoe, Kyle, and Madison. Zoe's trying to teach Kyle how to recommunicate. She's like, you need to learn to communicate with me better if you're going to survive.
Like every relationship ever.
Right?
Here's some flashcards, honey.
This is what you need to do.
This is what I want. Fat food.
This is how you communicate with me.
Touched on it earlier, but when Zoe leaves and Madison comes into the room...
Well, Madison gets her out of the room. She says, Cordelia wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Foxy wants a meeting.
Right. Sure. Which it was true, but I think...
Let's save that to the last thing. Yeah. Their meeting. I think that'd be a good way to
she gets her out.
Mm-hmm.
She's out.
And her and Kyle have a moment.
Her and Kyle, MM and Kyle have a moment.
Major moment.
Yeah.
They connect on being dead and brought back to life. Madison goes into this whole sort of speech to Kyle about dying and not seeing a light. Did you see a light? She kept saying, did you see a light? It went black.
It was cold and dark.
Yeah.
And
reality is just as bad.
Yeah, and she's like,
worse.
Being here, I'm trying to figure out if being here is better.
Is even worth it.
Yeah.
And we see her being vulnerable for the first time. We've seen her been physically vulnerable before, but really emotionally vulnerable and reaching out to someone and just saying, like, I'm hurting. I know you're hurting too. Like, let's comfort each other.
Yeah. And so when Zoe comes back to the room and she sees them having sex, personally, I was not that shocked.
I said Zoe catches Kyle, and then I'm doing it Frank and Kyle style.
Yeah. That's like
I mean, they were doing it standing up, which is pretty awesome.
That's what I'm calling that one from now on.
But MM later on talks about how it was the first time since she's been back that she was able to feel anything. And that...
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think it does because
she's made a significant connection.
I feel like because...
She's filling that hole.
I feel like that because they both died and they can, you know, have that same experience that she's able to feel and he's able to feel and sort of connect on a different level than...
And he trusts her.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for her, she's so underdeveloped with her, like, her personal relationships.
Right.
She's essentially communicating with a Neanderthal, and that's filling her need. And he just is like, mama.
Right.
You know, and they're good for each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Super.
I mean, it makes sense to me.
It does make sense.
What I thought was interesting, it's a little bit going back, was when Zoe was like, oh, you remember Kyle, right? And she was kind of like indifferent, like, eh. Like,
she didn't let anything register on her face that she even...
But
do you
she
remember?
Totally did.
Playing it cool like every girl does with every guy.
Right.
Okay?
Totally.
Textbook.
Thank
you.
Like, whatever.
Yeah, but then she clearly did because she was like, hey, do you remember, like, we, you know, brought you back and la la la. And, like,
I gave you the best parts.
Yeah.
And she probably knew, too, that if any emotion registered on her face with Zoe wouldn't leave the room. Like, there would be no alone time if Zoe felt like there was something going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if Madison even had an idea that Kyle was there. I think she was genuinely surprised that he was in the room.
Oh, I think she was very cool. And she was like, oh, do you remember Kyle?
She's an actress. She has two people's Teen Choice Awards or whatever.
Yeah. It takes a lot to do that.
But later on, Madison sort of convinces Zoe to join in on the fun.
Yeah.
And there's a little like...
I thought it was going to go lesbian. I thought it was going to be like
I mean, it kind of is.
It
right?
kind of is.
Kind of is.
I
We
thought
didn't
that
see
was funny
anything.
too, though, when it says like, we're just gonna share them, and she's like, well, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sort of like one of those things is like Zoe has a genuine concern about killing him, but he's already dead, so what harm can it do?
Right.
Sure.
So we have to
hurry this up.
We do. We're running out of time.
Yeah, we have a lot.
We need to talk. We need to mention that Zoe is feeling very powerful and killed Spalding.
She does. We
Right.
do hear Spalding talk. She reattaches his tongue.
His tongue. And by the way, I want to shout out Dennis O'Hare, the actor. Amazing on True Blood.
Yeah.
I can't remember his character's name at the very moment. But
I saw Dallas Buyers Club, and he was incredible in that.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah. Good note.
But before we go, we have to mention when Foxy chats with Fiona and we
Yes.
find out the big news.
Yeah.
Which is
Fiona's gonna die.
Fiona's gonna die.
Well, they want to kill.
They want to kill her.
She wants
Yeah.
to kill her because
But
she
they
tells her that she's got a bullseye on her back, and if Fiona finds
So
out,
Foxy chats with Zoe.
yes,
That she's powerful.
and that if Fiona even thinks that she is the next Supreme, she is going to get it.
She actually
next.
says, "You're one hot shit witch." Quote.
And that if
Okay.
she finds out you're next, you're next.
Yeah.
You're next.
That's happening.
Let's jump into news and gossip, you guys.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Ladies.
Anybody have anything?
You said you had a lot.
Okay, so we find out that Stevie Nicks is going to be on episode 10.
Oh,
Yay! And she's going to be singing with Misty Day. We don't know
awesome.
what she's going to be singing, but Ryan Murphy did release a photo
Yeah.
of Stevie on
She looked
set, so you guys can check out his Twitter handle, Mr. RP Murphy on Twitter, and he has the photo. I'm sure there's going to be more stuff coming out, but we do know that it's going to be in episode 10.
Yeah.
What about everybody else?
I did catch that that he was shouting her out and saying thank you for letting us use her original music throughout the entire series. And so this has been a major collaboration from the beginning.
nice.
And she was shooting, it was this week that she was there. So, that kind of, tells us where we are, shooting-wise as well.
Absolutely.
You know?
He also teased today in the new issue of EW that's coming out on Friday that in episode 11 they will start revealing clues as to what is going to happen in episode 4. We know that it's going to be either based
Season
in
4?
Season 4, sorry. We know that it's going to be based in Santa Fe or in New Orleans again, which
Nice.
is totally cool. So we will be sure to pay attention to any clues that's going to be revealed.
All we have to do is check and see who has the best tax incentives.
I was going to say New Orleans has an amazing
has
one.
the best tax incentives. So they won't be doing California, unfortunately, but we just check and
Sad but true.
It's sad but true. We'll
Yeah.
find out.
Anybody have anything else?
I'm just going to touch on it. Maybe we can bring it up another time because we don't have time. But I did read a couple blogs that were talking about sort of the strong black woman character and how there are a lot of shows going on right now, like Scandal and there's another show I can't remember. But they're just talking about Gabrielle Sidibe and her character and some of the things that they were wishing to see, that it's sort of overcompensating to have these sort of superhero strong black women that don't feel anything, like the voodoo doll that doesn't have any feelings. And I thought that was an interesting discussion, and I'd love to have someone from our Black Hollywood Live come in and give us their perspective, because we're not black, we're not that part of America.
We're not.
But I would love to find out what some other perspectives are on the kind of racial undertones of the show and how they feel about it.
Agreed.
So I thought maybe later on in the show we could do that. And for international fans, slavery is a big issue in the United States still. Talking about it and racial issues, I think it would be really interesting to get some perspectives.
Me as well.
Yeah.
All right, should we jump into predictions?
Yeah, let's jump into predictions really quickly, you guys.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Sarah, any predictions?
I don't think there's any way Fiona is dying. I think the joke's on the other ladies. She will definitely prevail. And I think that, Madame Lalaurie is going to be encaged for several episodes.
Okay.
That's my prediction so far.
I think that we sort of saw a mini interaction between Marie Laveau, Queenie, and Madame Lalaurie in the preview, where Queenie is sort of possibly feeling remorse for what she has done to Madame Lalaurie. So I'm thinking maybe Queenie is going to be punished for something. That is mine. Oriana, what do you have?
I predict that Zoe is going to have increasing powers and confidence, and like we saw this episode, kind of a little drunk on her power. I think she's going to continue down that path and maybe get checked. I would guess by Fiona.
Yeah.
Who, like you said, isn't going anywhere and will stay alive just to spite them.
Yeah.
And that Fiona's going to give in to her sensual desires, and there's going to be a real back and forth between her relationship with the Axeman and them that are fighting her.
David, tell us your prediction real fast.
I'm keeping my predictions to myself. But from everyone here at the AfterBuzz TV studios, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's quickly tell everybody where they can find us in those 2 weeks if they want to chat with us or tell us any predictions. You can find me at You Can Call Me Skiff on Twitter and Instagram.
I am at Sarah on the Go, Sarah with an H on Twitter, and SarahBear627 on Instagram.
I'm at Jillian Leff on Twitter, or you can find me on my website, jillianleff.com.
Twitter, Miss Oriana Leo. Instagram, Oriana Leo. Or Facebook is Oriana Leo Official. Please follow me or friend me. I like friends.
And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.